Can you be a democratic socialist and a capitalist?
Well, I think it depends on your interpretation. So there are some democratic socialists that would say absolutely not. There are other people that are democratic socialists that would say, I think it's possible.
What are you?
I think it's possible.
1950s tax rates in the United States. 91% tax rates on the highest tax margin. Now let's explain what that means.
So you want a 91% slavery people?
No.
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't know about that terminology.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Hello and welcome to Sasquatch Talk. My name's Bradley Valentine. We're on episode 23 already, so we're getting things rolling. Today we're talking about a little subject of economic systems. Troy wanted to talk about socialism with some stuff going on in the news, and I'm pretty excited about it. My name's Bradley. You have Troy at the top right. At the bottom you have Dan. We are the owners of Sasquatch Gun Oil. Troy's got that at the top right of your screen. So let's get started, and what I want to do is just ask you guys a question. When you think of socialism, what is the one country you think of first? Just pick one country and tell us a little bit about it. Troy, I'll start with you. What's the one country you think of when you think of socialism?
Well, the Soviet Union was the big example of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You could argue China's socialism. They've got a lot more capitalist kind of tendencies in their system, but that big example is the Soviet Union because it was the epitome of what socialism is at its core.
Okay. What about you, Dan?
North Korea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also Laos. There's a lot of other ones. What about you, Brad?
I think Nazi Germany in the 1930s and 1940s. To me, that's like, you know, the Nationalist Socialist Party. That's what Germany was. And, you know, it's just funny. Like, we talked about North Korea, China, Nazi Germany, and people are still like, hey, maybe we should try that socialism thing again. It's like...
And they keep bringing up Sweden as an example. And Sweden, you know, they experimented with socialism in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And since then, they've gone the complete opposite direction.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we'll get into all of it, but I think what we should look at today is understanding what socialism is. And I think what's fun about us is, like, we can kind of get into what the people leader think at the top is, you know, whether it's the elites or the government officials versus what the people think, right? The people who have to pay their bills, who are working hard. So Dan, I'll start with you. I want to hear about, what do you think the difference is between people like us who aren't rich, that want socialism? So obviously we don't necessarily want it, but the normal everyday people, they're like, hey, I wish we had socialism, versus the people at the top, the elite, the government officials who want socialism. What is the difference there to you?
Well, we as Americans don't like being controlled. We don't even like the thought of control.
Right.
Socialism is about total control, and that's what people don't understand. They see like, free and better healthcare.
Yeah.
Everything, the government's going to provide you everything you need. Everybody will have the same house to live in. You know, all the standard of living they think will be better than what they currently have. But what they don't understand is when you take something and make it the same, it loses what you've worked for. Okay. You know, like, what's a good way to put it? If you, like kids with a car, there's a lot of countries where, you know, teenagers drive, and when I think anyone who's gifted something, they tend to treat that gift differently than if they earned it.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, and while some folks know how to treat things that they've been gifted, the large majority of people don't. I'm old enough to remember the Cabrini Green housing down in Chicago. I don't know if you remember it, but I'm sure you remember it being torn down, Brad.
I'm not sure, no.
So there was referred to as Section 8 housing, but it was government-funded housing down in Chicago.
Yeah.
And that's, they called it the projects or the ghetto or, lots of negative connotation names. But while providing shelter for people is good, when there's no earning attached to it, the value of it is degraded and they're not encouraged to keep it up. And it went south very quickly.
Yeah.
It didn't last. I don't think it lasted 10 years.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I could look up that timeline, but ultimately what I'm trying to get to is when people don't have something to strive for, it loses value, right? If every day is sunny, suddenly a rainy day becomes something that you're very happy about. When everything is great, you lose a sense of what is a hard time, If
so
you
what
don't,
are you saying? We shouldn't have socialism because everything will be good and people won't appreciate the bad?
No, I'm saying people will not be encouraged to strive for anything, and it will all become very bad quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Troy, what do you think about this, where Dan's going with his logic here?
I see what he's talking about. There's the ownership component of it. Socialism, at its core, abolishes all private property, all ownership of assets, of anything, right? So there's no going out and working to buy what you want, and earn it, like Dan was saying, and earn it. And once you've done the work and you've earned it, you're going to have a self-appreciation, a confidence boost, something you're not allowed to do in a socialist regime. And that's the other thing. I think Dan mentioned it. When everyone is provided everything that they're needed by the government, there's no room for people to pursue what they want.
Okay.
Right? But when everything's given to you for free that you need, and you don't have the room to pursue your wants, then you don't have the responsibility of the things that were given to you, like your home or to go out and get your food and all of this stuff, right? So there's no purpose in life after that. And everything everyone will receive will all be the same.
I think, so I don't think I disagree at all with what either of you are saying, but I think that there's a more fundamental issue. And I'll start with understanding what socialism or capitalism, what they are. They're economic systems. Economics is essentially the study and understanding and fixing of scarcity. So essentially you have scarce resources, right? Food that runs out, shelter that runs out, and you have to figure out a way with dealing with it. Socialism is one of those things. It's one way to deal with it. So essentially what you guys are saying is we kind of deal with it by working really hard for ourselves, and then we take what we own, right? Whereas socialism is we work, we give all our stuff to the government, and the government redistributes it. I think the problem isn't really necessarily about what's my mentality? And I do agree with you that people who don't have to work for their things don't have the same appreciation, and maybe they won't work as hard, et cetera, et cetera. But I also think from a practical standpoint, ignore the mental standpoint. It's super inefficient, right? It never works. It's never worked before. And
that's because it's based on control of people.
Yes, that's where I was going to get next. And I put this in the chat, but Constantine, I can't remember his last name. He said it can't work. Yes, because to have socialism, you necessarily have to have violence for it to work. For example, let's say Dan and I are the socialist government. Troy, you're a hard worker, and we want to distribute your hard work. You either have to A, volunteer to work hard and give it up, or B, we force you to give it up, or C, we force you to work hard and redistribute your things, which is essentially just slavery. So it'll never work.
And so what are you going to do if I decide and I say, screw it, this is no deal, I'm not going to do anything?
Yeah, then we either throw you in jail or put you into slave labor.
Or you kill me. Or you kill me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it can never work because you have to use violence. And like you said, Dan, you have to use control. And unless we're all willing to submit to bureaucrats and government authorities to tell us what to do, when to do it, and that's essentially just slavery, imprisonment, or torture or murder. And I think that's where like the inefficiency also comes into it, is like Troy, you said the Soviet Union, they were so terrible at understanding and controlling supply and demand. They would go from surpluses to deficits on their food. They would have so much food it would rot away. They didn't know what to do with all that demand. So, Dan, I'll go back to you. When it comes to the idea of control, why do you, and I want you to answer my question, think about it. Why do you think that some people are willing to say like, oh, socialism is okay, even though there's an aspect of control to it, especially as Americans?
Because I think they don't understand what they're saying.
Okay.
Because they heard, and they tie it to this, right? The Democratic Party, as we've previously discussed, is really good at a couple of things. Not doing what they say they're going to do.
Okay.
And meaning something totally different than what they say they're doing.
Okay.
And then it's your fault that you didn't understand they didn't mean that. For example, democratic socialism.
Yeah.
Right? They want people to believe that this democratic socialism it's a new thing, right? They want people to believe that it's taking the rich people's stuff, right? And then distributing it equally so that the have-nots have more,
right,
and the haves have less. But what if my contention for it is, what if you worked really hard for what you have?
Well, yeah.
And then now you have to share it with a bunch of people that are dirtbags. That's
the whole point. Yeah.
So let me read the Merriam-Webster's definition, right? A political movement calling for the establishment of decentralized economic system with a democratically run political system.
Wait,
which
what is this
is kind of what
definition for?
Democratic socialism.
Gotcha. Decentralized.
And this is why I think some Americans could be duped into thinking that democratic socialism, or in their understanding, socialism, because they're trying to tie a similarity between the two. They're trying to say that democratic socialism is socialism. They're trying to change the definition, and trying to get Americans to believe that that's what it means, right? Just how like the word sick means cool, right? But you can also be sick, meaning that you're not well, right? So if you can generationally change the meaning of something, then you can get people's opinion of it to change, right? And they'll stop hating it. A lot of older generations understand that socialism has negative connotations and that it's tied to the Nazi regime and how Germany was run and how it was bad for a lot of people, right? If you have to change, you have to, you got to spin it, you got to twist it to get people to buy it, right? You got to get some flavor in there so that it's palatable for someone, right? So
Make
the
it
flavor
seem appealing.
the flavor they're using is that it's taking from the ultra rich so that they're not ultra rich anymore, and now their status is attainable to you, and they want the government to take that and then give it to the people that don't have anything.
Yeah.
You know, to the people holding the cardboard signs on the corners.
No, I will stop you in a second. That's
Sure.
not why people want it. They don't want it for the people on the corner holding a cardboard sign.
Free education,
they want it for
free
themselves.
healthcare. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, you're fine. I agree that is more so the case. But the issue is, in the 250 years coming up on that the United States government has been doing things, would we all agree that they're not very good at doing the things? They're okay.
Right.
Marginal at best.
Yeah.
That's why
but I
they
don't
let the
want them to
private
handle my
sector-
personal finances, you know.
Right. No, the government is not efficient. Yeah.
Yeah, they're only good at spending money. So why do people think, this is the thing that I don't understand. Why do they think they'll magically be better when they have more money to distribute?
Troy?
Yeah, New York City is
never
the good example of that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's why this government in the U.S. has private sector, the private market, let all of the people who own companies produce those things instead of having the government produce it, which is what socialism would be.
Right.
You know, and it leads to much more efficiency. But you're right. So these politicians, they're talking about socialism. They want to redistribute the wealth, but they make the ultra wealthy look like the bad person.
Right.
When money is just a means of exchange, they got rich because other people were buying their product or service, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You know, and that can never happen under a socialist regime. But these politicians' power almost feel like they're being threatened because people have money, and that they could do more than what government can. They have more power.
I want to,
because it's about control.
It is about control, and they want to control the wealthy and the people and the money and the companies.
I do agree it's control, and I want to shift us in a second. But first, I think there's one reason why that we're not talking about, and I've talked about this before, and it's envy. Like if you're sitting here watching this and you're like, well, maybe socialism does work. It's because you want what the rich people have, right? And that's how we say it. That's, you know, it's like tax the rich, pay your fair share. It's envy. It's you see a big house and you're like, I want that. And that's it. That's 100% why you can get buy-in. But there's a weird phenomenon that happens where people who are becoming rich don't really talk about socialism or high taxes. But once they get rich, you see this a lot with celebrities. You see it a lot with some rich politicians. Then they're like, yeah, tax the rich. So I'll go to you, Troy, and then you, Dan. But Troy, why do you think that is? Why do people not really want socialism until they get rich? They're filthy rich, right? They're millionaires. You see this a lot with celebrities who've already made their money. All of a sudden, they're like, yeah, we should have high taxes or heavy socialism. What do you think that's about, Troy?
I think I see that argument more from, like you said, the celebrity side of things. But when you have wealthy business leaders who aren't actors, actresses, who aren't musicians, they aren't the ones advocating for socialism. Yeah. They're the ones who are wanting to cut taxes. Like Jeff Bezos came out last week and saying they should cut income taxes for everyone earning, what is it, less than $100,000 a year?
Yeah.
You know, that'd be an extra $1,000, $1,200 a month in those people's pockets.
Yeah, that's like 10 more Amazon deliveries, man.
That's what I'm saying. But in a city like New York City, an extra $1,000 a month, that could be a decent amount. Anyone, actually, right? But you're hearing that from the business side and not necessarily the celebrity side. The celebrities are like, they get their money and then you hear them tax the rich. No one's illegal on stolen lands, you know, all of that crap, right? But it's not, but those people, they aren't as wealthy as the business side of things. If you want that true wealth, you build a business. You don't become an actor.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Dan? What do you think of some wealthy people who advocate for these economic systems?
Because it gets poor people to like you.
Yeah, that's another point too.
Because they're like, oh, this guy's really for me. He wants me to have what he has.
Mm-hmm.
It's very attractive until you think about it logically and go, oh, wait a minute. There's a few very wealthy folks out there that are very okay with giving away large amounts of money.
Sure.
But the majority.
Is it private? Is it voluntary, or is the government taking it from them? Are they donating it themselves?
Donating it. There's a large. Okay. There's not a lot of them, but there's a few ultra rich that give away a lot of money. There's not a large amount of them, because you can't. What is it? You can't stay rich by spending your money, right? Like,
right.
Because it goes away, right? It's a math equation at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what it's just. What's your next question? Because I'll get way off the rails.
I want to keep going on this topic, and in Troy, I'll push back with you. Think of like Mark Cuban, right? He's definitely. I'm not saying he's full on socialist, but he's definitely one of those people who advocates for like kind of makes the rich look like, oh, these rich people, we need, rich people need to help have health care for all of the United States, right? And I think there are a lot of rich, who's the guy, what's his name? He's a finance guy, Berkshire Hathaway. Do you know who I'm talking about, Troy?
Oh, Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett. Yeah, he's another one of those guys who's all about like tax the rich, blah blah blah. But he has billions of dollars, right? I think it's a little bit of what you said, Dan. Troy, what were you going to say?
He was a proponent of rewriting the tax code.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Trump. There could be changes that could be made to the tax code, but not necessarily tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich.
Him and a lot of people are okay. Here's what I'm going to say. I think a lot of rich people realize that, like, I have a target on my back now that I'm rich, right? And so, kind of like what you said, Dan, if I make myself more reasonable and empathetic and say like, yeah, I didn't earn everything I got, but I'm still going to keep it in my 4 mansions. All I have to say is tax the rich. Let's have socialism. I've already made all of my money.
It's called virtue signaling.
Yes. And here's another thing that people don't understand. If socialism exists, then it's not just you take money from the rich. If a system's in place, you can't just get rich, right? It's harder to get rich. So people don't understand this. When they say like raise taxes or all this, what they're saying is let's make it harder to get rich. It's not just let's make it harder for the rich people to have all their money. It means like let's make small business owners like the 3 of us harder to be successful business owners.
Yes,
what they don't,
because you're paying more taxes and like every step of the game.
Yes.
As you go up, more and more of your income stream is getting siphoned off, which then makes the ultra rich people richer.
What were you going to say, Troy? I feel like you're not on the same page as me.
No, you're fine. Yeah, keep going, Bradley. What you were saying.
Do you guys know who Peter Dinklage is?
Yeah, the short little guy.
Yeah, he's in Game of Thrones is the big thing. He's a little person, and when the live action film of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs came out, or was being made, the live action version, he said like, how dare Disney still make movies like this, where there's little people and there's a regular sized woman walking them around. And a lot of little people actors were really upset because he's already made his hundreds of millions of dollars as an actor. He's already gotten rich. And now other little people actors don't have this job, right? He essentially got to the top and pulled the ladder up so that no one else could get to the top with him. And it's not just like us who looked at like the white, gun-toting American who said, we can have little people. No, it was other actors who are little people who said, why can't I be in this film? Because Peter Dinklage said so. And I think that's the perfect metaphor for the rich guy getting rich and then saying, tax the rich. And it happens all the time. And you are right, Troy. There are a lot of, like Elon Musk isn't for like a pro billionaire or high taxes. And there's plenty of people.
That's why he moved
there.
to Texas.
Yeah.
From California.
Yeah. I think the more they look at it, the more they will be honest, the more they'll say that. So, Troy, I'll get to you. Go ahead, Troy.
You were talking about Mark Cuban just a moment ago.
Yeah.
I don't follow him closely. I didn't hear him say, "Oh, we need to tax the rich more," but he is every bit of a capitalist. He owns his companies. He built the companies. He got wealthy on his own labor, his own work, his own time, his own effort. Right? Of course, he hired people and had help.
Yeah.
Get down. But he is every bit of an American capitalist. He wasn't a socialist. He might have been advocating for more taxes, but he wasn't advocating for government to control all facets of the economy.
No, you're not understanding what I'm saying, Troy. I'm not saying that that's how he thinks you should be successful. What I'm saying is he's gotten to the top. He's made his billions, and now he's having a totally different conversation, right? He's saying we should try a different economic system than the one that he made his money on, right? I agree with you that he is a hard worker. He made his money through his companies and he did it the right way. I'm saying now that he's made his billions, he wants to pull the ladder.
He wants to pull the ladder. He's taken the elevator to the top and then hit the emergency stop so that no one below can take the elevator up.
Yeah.
Nobody else can have a turn. Now you got to build a staircase or build another elevator to get up there. Or better yet, you got to hire somebody to do all that.
So that's
because you need a professional to do it all.
Leaving people behind, is that what that's called?
Yeah.
I mean, the military teaches that, right? No troops going to be left behind,
right?
At all.
Yeah.
So it's just a completely different mindset and approach to, success. To succeeding and being fruitful.
Yeah. Who's that? What's his name? The guy who made Bowling for Columbine, Michael. You know who I'm talking about? Michael Moore. He's like the guy who says we should all have the Cuban healthcare system. Okay.
You mean people dying in the streets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get into that. Let's talk about like practical, and let's talk. Dan, we'll talk about the U.S. because the people are always like the U.S. is greedy and like just a capitalistic society. Would you agree that the U.S. is like a strong, greedy, capitalistic society? I'll start with you, Dan.
If that was the case, we wouldn't take our military to other countries and dig watering irrigation ditches and
build schools.
And build schools and build hospitals and, go fight for people that were trying to be eradicated just because they were born of a certain race or religion or peoples or nation state. We wouldn't go fight for, 250,000 small guys. We'd join with the guy that was trying to eliminate them and eliminate all of the diversity, right?
Right.
If we were what people say we are, but it's so much easier to point out, flaws of places than it is to say what they're doing right. People like to hate on their neighbor. They don't like to say, well, I guess he, and then point out whatever good thing that he does instead of talking about, how he plays his music too loud, or
negatives.
he plays country because you can't stand country music, or you know, never mind the fact that maybe he does go to work every day to provide for his family. You know, you're mad about the music that he plays doing it.
Right.
You know, like that's the story as old as time, right? People want to point out flaws.
Mm-hmm.
Not what people are doing right. What are we doing wrong? Because once we get all the wrong things done, but I maintain if you can tell people quite a bit of what they're doing right, they might actually focus on that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. It is easier to think, generally speaking, for populations, it's easier for the majority to think pessimistically than optimistically.
Yeah.
But if you can think and talk optimistically, like with your neighbor, coworkers, friends, it will rewire their brain to focus on those strengths, those positives, and I think that's what the world needs more of too. But let's go back to your core thought, Bradley, of what you were saying. You brought up Cuba as that prime example.
Yeah. So, well, okay. What about this, Troy? People say, like, and you'll hear this on YouTube videos all the time, like arguments for socialism or communism. Like, yeah, like maybe it hasn't worked yet, but it's because we haven't done it right. Or in a perfect world, socialism would work. What would you say to that, Troy?
Oh, well, there is no such thing as a perfect world. Everyone's got their own different needs and wants, right? Everyone needs food and shelter and everything. And in a socialist regime, you might be able to get all of that. The problem is it all comes from one source. And if that one source dries up or is really bad at doing a job, then that's what you're stuck with. You have no alternatives. And that's one thing that you don't hear a lot about capitalism. Capitalism always ensures there's an alternative. There's always a second option out there, regardless of what it is. You can get your food from multiple different farms. You can get multiple different people to build your house, and it's not from the government, right? You get your energy from different companies. You got gas, you got electricity, you got natural gas. All of that's from different places, and you can get different electricity from different sources. With this socialist regime, it says the government says this is what we're doing. No one else can say otherwise, and you have no option but to consume this. And if it sucks, sorry, that's the only option you have.
I'd contend with this thought. We already live in a semi-socialist society.
I was going to say that. You stole my talking point, Dan.
So check this out. You can't move in anywhere and not hook up electricity. Let's say you say, I'm not going to use electricity. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to plug in and use electricity. You could survive doing that.
Right.
You can. You can. But you can't get a plot of land. I haven't found a state yet. I'm trying to search a state where you can buy an acre and move in and not hook up to electricity.
What do you mean?
Because there's codes. Like,
isn't that off grid? Couldn't you just get backup generator and solar system, batteries, and
I'm not saying that you can't generate your own power. Even in Oregon, because I looked into it, even in Oregon, you have to at least have one power pole, and you have to pay the monthly bill to PG&E. You have to pay at least $85 a month. It doesn't matter if you use it or not. There has to be a power pole on your land.
I'm not sure that that's accurate for everywhere.
Okay. Let's we can get to a part 2 of this.
However,
because I'm pretty sure when we stack the facts up, we're going to figure out that we already live in a socialist democratic nation.
I do agree with that.
Semi-socialist, yeah.
Yeah. So I think here's another problem is like when people say like, oh, we're just this like capitalistic society. Like if you live in California, half your money goes to the government. Like how is that capitalism? You know,
of earnings. Yeah, you're right. It goes.
That's we're far from it, and I think that in the United States, like we're freer, we're probably the freest, but we're not just like this free laissez-faire society.
You're right. It's not laissez-faire where government is completely hands-off. The one thing that it might be high taxes in a state like California, but you as the worker you still have the right and the freedom to choose your own labor and to do your own work.
Yeah.
In a true socialist regime, the work is assigned by the government.
Sure.
Right? You're given everything you need. That includes work and livelihoods, right? You can still do whatever you want in California, earn however much you want, whether you build a business or have a job. You're paying 50% of your taxes to the state and the feds.
Yeah.
But you can pick where you live, pick how big a house you want. You can pick what you do for work, all of that.
I agree.
Don't have that.
I think that's where it's like we're like not completely capitalism is my point. Like we still have
and
plenty
not
of,
completely socialism.
Exactly. And I think that's just like people who say like America's just a bunch of greedy, rich, fat people. Like that's not that's not what we are. Like people pay their taxes. We have our regulations, and like even with Dan's point, like yes, we still like if you own your own land, like you have to subdivide it a certain way. You can't necessarily, I don't know about the electricity thing, but you can't like just build anything anywhere, any way you want, right? The government still has say, whether it's local or county government or whatever. Troy, what were you going to say?
State. Water is a good example of that too. I know in Colorado and I know in Oregon, and I'm sure the other states, especially in the West, every drop of rain, snow, precipitation, the state considers it's their own.
Right.
So you can't buy 20 acres.
It's a state resource.
Yeah, and you can't divert a river or collect the water.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you can't. It's illegal in the entire state of Oregon to collect the rainwater from your roof.
Right.
Now you can do it. You can
do it.
Let's not confuse can with legalities.
Yeah.
Because you can apply for a rainwater collection permit.
It's a permit.
That is not the same as being able to freely do what you want. And here's why I said that you cannot. And it's, listen to my wording. There is no U.S. state where it's 100% legal to build a traditional permanent home without regulations and electricity.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying that you can apply for a permit for this or for that.
Right.
I have a lot of things where I would say just apply for the permit and never hook up the electricity and never get it installed, right? That's not 100% legal.
Sure.
That's why I'm saying we live in a socialist democratic nation.
Yeah.
We vote, but we are heavily regulated.
Oh, without a doubt. I agree with you, Dan. Like we're saying, like you can't just get land and do whatever you want, right? You have to deal with local regulations, county, state, federal regulations, and some of those are good things. But depending on
I don't
where
want
you live,
people pooping in my drinking water.
Right.
Yeah. Some of it can be excessive too.
Yes. And that's
I agree. 90% of it's excessive.
Yeah. That's where people think like America's not just this place where you could go and do whatever you want. Like we still have plenty of rules, regulations, and redistribution of wealth. Like we've already talked about this, but the top 1% of taxpayers pay 40% of the bills in America. The top 10% pay about 70% of the bills. So whenever you say the rich don't pay their fair share, think that 10% pay 70% of the bills. Hundreds of billions of dollars in tax revenue every month come from one guy out of 10.
One thing I can't figure out though is why they consistently want to raise the middle earners taxes consistently. I know it's because there's more of us paying that.
I think
they got to get their money from somewhere.
But if they did away, if the tax code was totally rewritten and every time you went to the IRS page it just said 10%, it would be better for everyone. That would be the most fair.
Or 0%.
I'm cool with 10%, man. Like we got to build. Are you repaving your 10 feet of road that's in front of your house?
Right. No, and I get it. They can get that money elsewhere, though.
How?
Like, there's other options.
What?
There
like
are
other options?
Tariffs. So that's one big thing that like President Trump has said. Like if we get tariffs right, we can eliminate income taxes. Now I'm not so sure if we're spending trillions of dollars if we can make trillions of dollars up in tariffs. We still have a spending problem as it is.
People just stop buying our crap. You know?
But I mean, there's two ways to make zero income: have a 0% tax rate or have a 100% tax rate. Because if it's 100%, no one will work. If it's 0%, then you don't get any money in.
Yep. That's why I say 10% is a good give and take. Eliminate all other taxes. Go to a 10% flat tax.
For every earner, right? You're talking about from minimum wage all the way up to the billionaires.
Yeah.
Correct.
So here's another thing, like we talked about, in a perfect society, socialism would work. That's a talking point. It's all over the internet. It's been a talking point for probably 50 plus years. Here's the thing. Economic systems are made because of scarcity. Scarcity is essentially where you don't have enough food or water, so we have to figure out how to get it. If you did have enough food and water, then things would be perfect. You wouldn't need an economic system. It's a self-defeating argument. It's an illogical argument. It's like saying, what's 10 divided by 0? And I'm like, Troy, you can't answer that, can you? Why not? And it's, well, because there is no answer to that. It's an invalid question. It's an invalid statement, right? So to say something would work in a perfect society, but a perfect society would eliminate the need for something, is just an illogical statement. And that's where it's like, people don't get it, Troy, right? Like, people don't get it. They just see there's rich people and there's poor people, and it's not fair that certain people are rich and it's not fair that certain people are poor. Troy, what were you gonna say?
That I get it how people can feel and think that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you like you were saying, envy earlier is you know, a person's got a huge house for a lot of money and they're driving a $200,000 vehicle. Meanwhile, you're driving down the street in a $5,000 Honda that's falling apart, right? That's got 300,000 miles on it, and you're like, why can't I have that, right?
Right. Yeah.
You can though. You just have to do the work.
You can.
You know?
Well,
yeah.
Dan, this is another argument that people say, like the people who got rich, whether it's Mark Cuban or Warren Buffett or Elon Musk, people say this, you'll hear this. They didn't get rich on their own. You know, there were still paved roads that helped them get there. It was the American taxpayer who gave them a loan or someone gave them a loan for their business. They had workers that helped them build up the business. What do you say to that, Dan?
I wasn't born rich. Although I would say we probably should adjust our scales.
Okay.
And let me try to decipher that a little bit. What we as Americans consider rich and what other countries consider rich, if you look at the population of the world, right?
Yeah.
If you poop inside and you have water, clean water to flush your poop down, right? Where does that put you in the scale of the world? That puts you in like the top 30%.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Now you have clean water to wash your poopy hands.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You just moved up a couple of percent. You could, if you could drink the water out of that same faucet you just washed your hands in.
Yeah.
You're now in like the top 20% of the population. Right. And if you look at the lowest welfare check in the United States and bump that against the highest welfare check from any other nation, you'll see you're probably in the top 20% again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are looking at this equation with glasses of envy, like we're talking about, right? If you watch a television and you poop inside and you can drink the water out of your faucet, you're in like the top 10%.
Right. Yeah.
And the people that these people on TV are saying, the rich people that need to pay more, the ultra rich, they're in like the top 0.2%. of the population.
Sure.
Maybe 0.02%.
Yeah.
Right? Because until Americans realize that the options that are available to you, if you're not hooked on drugs and willing to walk or take a bus, the amount of public assistance that's available. If we want to split that tree down and talk about, like, if you're a male, what's available, if you're a single male without kids and you don't have a wife to take care of, what's available to you publicly,
sure,
versus what's available to a female versus what's available to a female with children. Those are all wildly different scenarios, because we need to take care of women and children, right? But there's this equation. We have to look at it and calibrate the lens that we look at this equation. And that's why I say they're just virtue signaling when they say, oh, we need socialism. Okay, we already have it.
Mm-hmm.
We already have that.
Yeah. We have, I agree with you. And I think we have essentially as close as it comes without completely breaking the system, right? Because you still have to have freedom for people to build wealth, you know? And like, that's the thing is, like, people don't understand we need Elon Musk and Warren Buffett and Mark Cuban and whomever, right? And I know people are like this statement, like, billionaires shouldn't exist. What about that? I don't know if you guys saw that picture. What's his name? What's his freaking name? Bernie Sanders, who for years.
Well, yeah,
said,
but he says only billionaires should be taxed now.
Well,
because he's a billionaire now.
He said for years, millionaires shouldn't exist. Millionaires shouldn't exist. Millionaires shouldn't exist. And then he became a millionaire.
Then he became a millionaire.
And then
now
he said billionaires shouldn't exist.
This is also the same guy that said in 2014, in 6 years, the Earth was going to have a climate catastrophe and everyone needs to stop burning gas. Meanwhile, he was flying around the planet on a private jet.
We don't have enough time to get into the gasoline. We should do a gasoline episode.
Okay.
We should. That'll be fun. But you're talking about the wealthy, like whether they should exist or not. Not only do they pay taxes, but they are massive philanthropists too. They donate money across the world for good causes, and that's outside of government control. So that's not via taxes. They are paying the taxes and they're donating money. They also create the vast majority of jobs in the country too.
Yes, that's the important part. I mean, I'm not.
That's the important part.
Like, donating isn't important, but like the jobs we have come from rich business owners, right? And like, while we may be envious of them, like Dan, like you were saying, people making $80,000 a year may think that they're struggling. And sure, times can be hard, but like, imagine about the poor guys in Africa trying to find their water, and we're mad at the billionaire who gave us $80,000 a year, you know?
Yeah.
80,000 might be difficult in New York City, but it is easy in Klamath Falls, right? So it kind of depends on where you live too.
Right.
They're trying to change that. They're trying to change that.
Yeah, I know.
We've been a single income house for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And, sure, we don't have a 100-inch TV, the newest one, right? Our newest car is
three cars.
I think we have 4 now, but there are 3 of them are 2004 models, and one of them is a 2012, and we pay cash for them because we save up, pay cash, and then I fix them. I research, I read, and then I fix them. And then I show my kids how to fix them.
Even the wealthiest people in like Europe and other developed countries, they don't have the financial resources to have 3 cars for a household or 4 cars for a household. Even if they were paid with cash and were fixed up. 4 cars for a household of, like my wife and I, we have 2 cars for 2 people, right? And you go to a family of 4 in Europe, they'd be lucky to have 1 vehicle. It'd be a go, it'd be a
so why do people want
Civic of sorts.
Why do people want their system that's not working for them?
That's what I'm saying. It's
because they're
it's because they're envious. But you hear these politicians, oh, tax the rich. By the way, we want free education and free healthcare. How are they going to afford it? By increasing the taxes.
Mm-hmm.
My
virtue
problem,
signaling.
So someone goes to school, it's being paid for by the taxpayer. What if they're a dropout? What if they're a stoner that just gets high during class or before lunch, during lunch, before class, and they end up getting F's and D's and they fail out? So then what is the taxpayer paying for his failure? There's no discipline.
Yeah, and another 12 years of school and college.
Yeah. So why should we suffer for him failing when
because
if he takes out his own? Exactly. Whereas if he were to take out his own loans and then he does the same thing, then he's the one paying for it, which is the way it should be, right? You're going to school. You're paying
because you got to have
it.
some skin in the game, man.
Exactly. You got to have that risk, that skin in the game, and socialism takes out all that skin in the game. It takes out that risk.
Well,
yeah, because they're.
So, unfortunately, we're out of time, and the crazy thing is we actually had some breaking news about real life aliens. We all had pictures that we took ourselves, but we don't have time to get into it today. So sorry about that if you're still listening.
Are aliens socialists and that's how they're able to get here? Is that what the deal is?
But that's all we have. Cue the music. We are Sasquatch Gun Oil. If you look at our social media, we've got some new stuff coming out. Look for whether it's discounts or videos. And we made a video about how Sasquatch Gun Oil can work as a lubricant, not just on guns. So if you don't own any guns, that's okay. You can put away that WD-40.
You use it on your hinges.
That's right. That's all we got
Never
today,
squeak
Troy.
again.
What was that?
It'll never squeak again.
Never squeak again.
Rusty. Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much for watching. My name's Bradley. You got Troy and Dan. Adios.